It's very nearly 2021, for me at least. It'll be 2021 by the time some of you watch this, and that means we're close to or in the same year as the next Battlefield game drops. New content finally. And it's been a common question put to me as to what I want from BF6, what my wish list is, whether it'll be good and whatever else. So to close out this year, I've put together my blueprint for Battlefield 6 success, or whatever it's going to be called. My top 10 things I want from the game to make it great and not a total and utter flop. They're in no particular order, and I don't expect everyone to agree, of course, that's not the point here. What makes the game great for me might not be what makes the game great for you, so feel free to leave your blueprint or wishlist in the comments below. Either way, I think a lot of the points raised, whether from you or I, we can probably agree on, and I'll throw up some BF1 and BF5 gameplay in the background for some variety. Let's do this. This video is brought to you by the epic Patreon supporters on the Board of Awesome and the channel members here on YouTube, who you can join by hitting the join button below if you so wish. And the current goal for the channel is to hit 70k subscribers, currently at 61k, and with many people consistently watching without having subbed, perhaps without even realizing, as you can see here, there's room for a lot of growth. So if you want to see more, hitting that subscribe button would be fantastic. Thank you so much. Let's kick this off, and these will be brief rundowns as there's 10 points to cover. Number one for me is weapon mechanics. I think they should sit somewhere between like BF1 and BF5. Now I love BF1, I love that the guns need to be used in certain ways, otherwise they're really bad, and if you use them correctly, they're really good. But I also understand that for the casual player, or someone who doesn't want to look into that, or simply someone who wants a very simple point and shoot experience, that's not going to work for them. And we want BF6 to be a success and draw lots of players in. I guess BF1 is also criticised for having bad guns, because the game also provides very little info about how to make them work well, which is a failing of the game. Relying on videos such as mine to learn that stuff shouldn't be an absolute requirement. But I also think the gunplay was way too basic in BF5. Fun, perhaps, at least for some, but it affected balance. When almost everything shoots straight, lacks spread and or recoil, guns become lethal laser beams. Map design has to then cater for this. Balancing becomes an issue because there's less you can tweak. Guns like semi-autos become insanely powerful, etc. So yeah, somewhere in between BF1 and BF5, I think would be a nice middle ground for many types of players and aid in effective weapon balancing and differentiation. Okay, next, and I need to not take too long on each one. This one is quick and simple, and effective anti-cheat. BF5 has been plagued with hackers. This is nothing new for games these days, but seeing people hacking or cheating somehow for weeks or months on end and not being banned is awful. It kills off a large chunk of the PC community, and I say that as a console player even. It's not fair and it isn't right. Get an effective anti-cheat and keep people playing. This is of absolutely huge importance. Next up, don't oversell. Don't say this will be the most mind-blowing, genre-altering experience of all time if it isn't going to be. Don't put things in the trailer that don't make it to the game for a year or 2 years, or perhaps even just get totally cancelled. Talk up the actual genuinely great aspects of the game, nail the tone of those trailers, deliver what you say you'll deliver, and be clear with your communication. DICE. So many problems were caused by this not happening in BF5. I think we all want to see that be avoided this time around. Just sell what your product actually is and make it great. It sounds simple, but it works. Moving on, the fourth thing I want is for the game to release when it's ready. I know that may mean I sound like I'm encouraging delays, and that makes some people mad, but it's not as simple as that. A good game is a good game regardless of when you get it. No, we don't really want to wait, but sometimes you have to. And a broken game is a broken game, especially if you get it early. And that can make the rest of the game's life an unnecessary uphill battle, which can affect the rest of the quality additions the game may have otherwise received. It's a serious knock-on effect. If the game comes out when it's ready and it's good, much more of the focus can be put on the game being made even better. The coming soon meme from BF5 was likely partly due to that uphill struggle. Spending time fighting other fires, taking away from the more expected developmental progress. And Cyberpunk has absolutely shown us that releasing when the game is ready is extremely important. Not to mention how badly it will be received if BF6 releases in a poor state after the BF5 debacle. We've waited this long, we may as well wait until it's in a great state to play it. And DICE have had a long time to work on this one, so hopefully it'll be great regardless. Oh, and if you do something like Firestorm in the next one, make it free to play and separate to the actual main game. That was a moronic decision, as everyone pretty much knew. My next point is map design. Let's just straight up have better maps than BF5. The game before BF5 was BF1, and those maps for me are far superior. They're not all great maps, but they're better overall as an average. The BF5 maps created a very defensive meta a lot of the time, and limited ways to approach things. enemies, limited creativity possible, which also played into the super easy to use guns being a problem. Huge open maps with vast amounts of clutter, rather than actual decent and regimented cover, is not the way to go. It creates a frustrating gameplay loop. It forms a situation of the player that moves being obvious and the player being still remaining basically unseen. And so movement and overall expression of play is neutered. Let's have good, varied maps. My next point is I like manual spotting. I really do. I know some will totally disagree, and that's cool, and you can put in your list in the comments that you don't want it and why, but this is my list, and so I do enjoy it. I see the negatives of it, of course, but I feel the positives outweigh them, and I think it's something that Battlefield has over a lot of other games because it's different. I personally like the extra mechanic being thrown in, the advantage that someone who uses it well gets over someone who doesn't, the way you can help your team by spotting even if you can't get the kill. And while it can create this idea of Dorito hunting or whatever you want to call it, it's just never bothered me. I did also enjoy the flip side benefits that BF5 had of not implementing manual spotting, so either works for me and I can perform in either scenario, so not really biased in that fashion. I just like it, so if I had to choose, yeah, I'd have manual spotting. It's just my opinion, feel free to share yours. I would say however that a somewhat nerfed version of it would be sensible, something a bit less spammy. In BF1 you can run around mashing the spot button, so something to negate that just a little bit would be good for balance. My next desire is vehicle balance. Poor vehicle balance really kills the experience for many players, whether they use vehicles or not. And I've also heard many players wish for the days of more skill-orientated vehicle usage from some older BF games. They seem really simple now, and let's avoid the crazy issues of the Ilya Muromets from BF1 and have way better tank balancing than BF5. The tanks in BF5 are far too good from range and too weak up close. So rather than pushing in to make a difference, tanks in BF5 a lot of the time just become portable long-range field guns, with infantry often lacking the necessary resources to do anything about it from long range. And tanks are then also somewhat ineffective overall in the ways that they probably should be used, and are more so just an annoyance. Let's have good vehicle balancing alongside that infantry play so that everyone is happy. Next is a huge one for me, game mode availability. My days, put the popular modes into BF6 at the start and do not remove them. Then add fun temporary modes throughout its life, back to basics, snipers and shotguns, whatever. That is a recipe for success. And don't, absolutely do not, leave out core BF modes from the release, and even worse, don't start taking them out. BF5 removed permanent modes and made them temporary, but then they essentially almost never got seen, and disappeared entirely in some cases it felt like. Frontlines gone, domination gone, etc. Someone eventually pointed out to me that all of these small team-based objective modes had gone, which were what I generally played on BF5 at that time. So my main reason for playing the game had been stripped away. I don't think I need to explain how colossally bad an idea that is. Put in the expected modes and leave them. Then spice things up with cool temporary modes. Simple, job done. Next up, a team balancer. Put it in the game from the start. Not skill-based matchmaking, not no team balancer at all, not moving players to different servers. A simple and effective team balancer or random reassigner would be my choice. So say something like BF1 had, or simply randomly move players, and of course set squads, around between rounds to keep variation. It's beyond important, and I do mean keep set squads together because you can't break up groups of friends. But yeah, don't have the absolute one-sided constant lobby stomping issues of BF5. I can't believe that was such a problem. This has to be done right from the very start. And to round out my points, visibility. I want to be able to pick out the enemy at times when I should be able to. I really do. Sure, have some elements of blending in, of good positioning and such, but no staying hidden in plain sight. It's so taxing on the mind and eyes to try to scan vast areas with next to no chance of picking anyone out to then get lasered from 68 random places. Like for example, in BF1, if there's a bush, it could provide some element of stealthy cover, but you could still see the person in it if you actually looked. On BF5, if you're in a bush, you're totally hidden. I'd strongly encourage avoiding that. Don't make people big glowing obvious things, like I don't want that. But let us see the enemy. The chosen art style and direction for the game plays a big role in this, so I'll be keeping my fingers crossed for a good one. And that is my blueprint for Battlefield 6 success. You'll notice there's nothing crazy or revolutionary or particularly hard to do, nothing that reinvents the wheel. I'm just asking them to nail what Battlefield kind of already is in a lot of ways, but just do it right. And I know my list won't be the same as everyone's, so what's yours? Let me know in the comments below, and I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe, it really does help a lot, thank you very much. Turn on post notifications to get to each vid early and tell me you were first, and the links to my Twitter, Patreon, Discord, and all of that are in the description and my pinned comments. And yeah, with all of that, I'm GetGoodGuy, and I'll see you next time, maybe on a stream. Check if I'm streaming now if you want, just in case. Laters.
One behind. Got him.
Don't think I can get to you.
Alright, we're handling it as
You've
best
got
we
people
can.
right near you.
And no, it's constant.
Larion!
I apologise
no,
for the
they
lack
shot
of me
from
doing the
downhill.
challenge right now, guys, but I picked this up due to being out of ammo and haven't died.